r/ask Reddit. What was your "this person is on another level of stupid" moment? I locked my purse with my keys and cell phone in my apartment. I went to the office to ask maintenance to let me in. The woman at the desk said she would call maintenance and asked for a phone number they could reach me at. I said there wasn't one because my cell phone was locked in my apartment. She insisted she needed a number. I said I could give her the number but that I wouldn't be able to answer if they called. She suggested I get my phone out of my apartment so that I could answer when they called. I rolled my eyes at her and said if I could get in my apartment to get my cell phone I wouldn't need maintenance to let me in. She never did understand me, but maintenance did show up 10 minutes later. Update: since a lot of people are asking, you don't need a key to lock the door to the apartment, just to unlock it. On the way out the door, I turned the lock on the back of the doorknob and then pulled the door shut, locking the door. I had put my keys in my purse because I was also carrying a laptop bag and a few other things. I thought I picked up my purse with the other bags but I hadn't. Yes, I know I was stupid for locking myself out. Thank you, kind stranger, for the gold. Reminds me of the time my cell phone completely died. Wouldn't power on even if I charged it. So I called Apple support. Guy asked what's wrong with my phone. I told him it won't turn on. He asks me to power it on so we could troubleshoot. I tell him it won't turn on. He sighs and tell me he won't be able to diagnose the problem if I won't cooperate and power on my phone for him. Question mark? To be fair to that guy, he's probably used to the type of people that think their phone shuts off when the screen goes to sleep. I hate calling customer support for any technical issues. The first 10 minutes of me saying I did that already but I'll do it for you again. I once worked in a Midwestern grocery store deli and I was trying to explain to a woman that the name brand and generic brand of the macaroni salad that we carried were in fact identical. The woman yelled at me saying she could only have the generic brand because one is made with mayo and the other is made with mayonnaise and I don't like mayo. When I tried to explain that mayo is an abbreviation of mayonnaise, she just said I'm from the South. I know my food and tutted away. She is going to be in for a shock when she goes to the pharmacy for her prescription of mayonnaise. I got a concussion a while back. A friend of mine told me not to come close because it might be contagious. They weren't kidding. A girl in my school had gotten about 3 concussions within a year and when she hit her head the 4th time and blacked out for a minute, refused to go to the doctor because last time they said if I got another concussion it could cause brain damage. So I'm not going to let them give me another one. Edit. Because so many people saw this and are asking. No, she did not play any sports, she was just incredibly stupid and clumsy even before the first one. I think the third one might have done it for her. Ex-flatmate cancelled the gas and electricity contract because it was too expensive. Wondered why we had no more electricity nor gas. She thought we paid €90 a month to get a hotline 24/7 in case of problem. I was friends with a couple who only had enough money to pay either the cable bill or the electricity. They paid the cable. A couple days later the power was turned off. Reminds me of choosing beer over toilet paper. I had to explain to a girl why you couldn't grow your hair down in front of your face and just cut out eye holes. Even explaining it she couldn't grasp it and brushed me off as being too smart. This is my favorite one. LOL. It took me a second. I worked at a pet store in college. This customer asked me which food would make his pit bull swell. I suggested a high protein food with a good amount of exercise but advised that a lot of it was determined by the dog's genetics. He asked me if we sold genetics. Answer: yes, but it comes pre-packaged in dog. Rescued a co-worker on the side of the road with a flat tire, waiting for the tow truck. I pointed out the nail at the top of their tire. They scoffed and looked at me like I was the stupidest person in the world and exclaimed, "That's not true, BC, it's flat at the bottom." He just walked away and never brought it up again. Gosh, what an idiot. Nails are always flat on the top. Except those pesky left-handed nails. I had a bucket of nails one time that was almost 50% left-handed. I was friends with a guy who believed those fake Apple adverts like Apple Wave, microwave your phone for instant battery charge. I was so dumbfounded that he actually fell for it. When I saw him the week after and he had a new phone, it all clicked for me. At least he's got the money to fund his idiocy. Not everyone that buys a new phone every year can actually afford it. This was my first experience in retail where I learned what many customers would be like. Seasons were changing, so we put a lot of shirts we had to get rid of in the front and made them 50% off. I was working the register when a woman came up to buy her things. I rang her up and could see a look on her face like something was wrong. That's when the following happened. Lady, why is this so much? Me, pardon me? Lady, this should only be $10 not $20. I thought that maybe her item was on sale. So I asked if she could point out the sign because I wasn't aware of it. It was a small store and we didn't have to walk anywhere. Lady, this sign here. Me, this sign says that all shirts are 50% off. Lady, yes. So why is this full price? Me, this is a hat. OMG, this made me laugh so hard. We had a sale recently on scarves. For $15. The signs clearly stated scarves. The word scarves was in all caps, bold, underlined and bigger than all the other words on the sign. The amount of people I had come up to the counter with 4 items of clothing, worth $30 plus each, and tell me that it was for $15 was unbelievable. After pointing out that the sign clearly said scarves, a few even told me that the signs were misleading. My wife's cousin and her husband, not baby daddy of her unborn child, fell on self-induced hard times and needed a place to stay for a bit. We set up a queen-sized air mattress in the living room for them. For 3 weeks I woke up to go to work and every morning saw them sleeping on it sideways with their legs hanging off the edge. Then one day she asked me to buy her a bigger air mattress because this one was hard on their backs. I told her to turn her body. The ducking thing even has a built-in pillow on one end. Her response was that then they couldn't see the TV. Then ducking turned the air mattress to face the TV. That's the story of how I became an a-hole to the trailer trash side of the family. The bad part is that it's only one of many stories. The husband was a cook at Applebee's. The baby daddy was a cook at Applebee's. And her new husband was another cook from the same ducking Applebee's. All working together. Did she also work at Applebee's? Also, was this in Crosby, TX by chance? I've heard some messed up stuff about that Applebee's. Yes, she was a hostess. No, not Crosby. But you are scary close. Like uncomfortably close. I used to work with a girl who was sweet but so dumb. We were in a meeting once and somehow someone mentioned baked ham. My manager said, "Doug, I hate ham. It looks like human flesh." The girl I mentioned was sitting next to me and looked horrified and whispered, "Does ham really come from people?" I'd be more worried about the manager that knows what cooked human flesh looks like. When I served in the King's African Rifles, the local Zambezi tribesmen called human flesh long pig. Never much cared for it. I was once asked how it felt to come to the US as a refugee. I'm from Germany. She then looked rather surprised when I told her that Hitler has been dead for 75 years and that Germany is one of the more liberal countries in the world these days. She full on thought I fled Nazi Germany. Back in 2000, I was in the US with my German girlfriend at the time and we convinced my roommates that Germans live in teepees. Some wigwams already had power but not all. I worked at a meat desk for a summer job, and a woman came in and asked if we had any meat without spices or sauces. She then proceeded to tell us that the doctor had said that her dogs got sick because she kept feeding them pizza and they couldn't handle the spices. She then said, "Oh, but they love pizza so much. I feel bad for them. I'm probably still gonna feed them pizza." I hate people like this who knowingly harm their children and or pets' health. At least with children you can call CPS, but pets are sadly at these dumbasses' mercy. Animal abuse is reportable in a lot of places. It for the inbox spam about pizza not being something the authorities will act on. I only said that animal abuse could be reported, lol. Dated a guy, we watched Titanic. He thought the movie was stupid because the boat sank. It wasn't believable. You can't recover from that, ever. It's such a stupid premise, though. Boats don't sink, they float. Everyone knows that. That's the whole reason for having a boat to begin with. LOL. The Titanic was just folklore. Huh. I work for Parks Canada in Yoho National Park. I have been asked the question, seriously, where do you keep the animals at night? Twice in my career. To this day I still find great joy imagining what they thought was going on each night as we collected every large animal in the parks. Hey, you. Duck, you bear. Get your ass over here. Come on. Don't be a shit. Get in there. It's Parks Canada, sorry Mr. Bear. It's time to turn in for the night. Yep, I know. Sorry. Spent 7 years working for TSA. Had a pretty sweet detail where I would assist passengers who did not have it or assist SAR agents if they had questions about the validity of the given ID. I get a call on the radio asking for assistance and verifying an ID. I come over and ask what the issue is. Agent hands me a driver's license and says can't accept this Canadian ID. Hearing this, I assume it's expired or the wrong name. I take a look and see that it is an Alaskan driver's license. I quickly approve the passenger and send them on their way. I then spend 10 minutes explaining that Canadian DLs are acceptable according to TSA regulations and Alaska has never been a Canadian territory. This co-worker has a master's degree in mathematics and served 25 years in the US Air Force. It's dumbfounding how people can be so high functioning in some areas and leave you bewildered as to how they even managed to survive to adulthood in others. I think the bigger issue is that he has a master's degree in math and works for TSA. Knew a girl in middle school that didn't understand the concept of perspective. She also thought north was whichever direction you were facing at the time. Ah yes, true north. My boss asked me to file the spam mail. This man was one of those people who think they are the smartest person in the room. So spam folder okay. Weird, but okay. I couldn't find any spam mail that wasn't already in the spam folder. Afternoon comes and he stomps over to my desk area and wants to know why the spam isn't in the spam folder as he throws a manila folder on my desk. The folder was labeled spam. He prints spam mail out and files it, and with any sign of skepticism on my face. He'd insist the IT guy told him that's where spam goes, so he got himself a folder and that was it. I had to get the duck out. Edit. People are asking if I'm serious. I have photo proof. Edit too. Sorry about my nails. I chewed them almost off that day. This is pre-hotspots and widespread Wi-Fi days. I had an editor-in-chief ask me for access to the server before she went on vacation. I set her up with VPN and FTP access for all the servers she used and called it a day. The next week, she called my boss screaming because she was at the cabin in the middle of the ducking woods and had no internet. Apparently, I was not only supposed to divine that access to the server meant a wireless internet service, but also somehow empower her new neon orange iBook to access some mystical Wi-Fi network made from sunshine and rainbows. My boss wanted me to apologize, but I told him that the only apology she'd get from me is that I am deeply sorry I assumed you weren't a moron. Wi-Fi confused so many people in the early days because to a lot of people it was just magic. No wires, but no idea that it was such a short distance. People would complain that their new work laptops didn't have internet once they left the building without realizing why that might be. It didn't help that most people's idea of wireless signals would be TV and radio, two things that can get signal for miles. This story is in good faith. I was asking my friend Jay when he learned about 9/11. He started telling me this specific story of how he walked outside and saw smoke everywhere and how he asked his mom about it. He claimed she said planes hit the towers. I stared at him, just silently taking in the story. We live in the Midwest. There was no way he saw the debris from the towers. Also, we were born in 2003. Edit. Do I really have to defend Jay? He wasn't purposefully lying. It was most likely a fake memory, so he thought he was telling the truth. It was just a fun dumb moment I thought I would share. Your story reminded me of a 9/11 experience I heard from two college freshmen. The first guy asks his friend where he was on 9/11 and he says Philadelphia. He was telling this guy how he saw one of the planes hit the Pentagon from Philadelphia. Then the first guy asks what the Pentagon is. The second guy says it's like a wrestling venue in New York City. SMH. He just can't keep his shapes straight. Madison Square Garden equals Pentagon equals the pyramids equals a baseball diamond equals a boxing ring. They're all just shapes. Back when the Fukushima nuclear power plant disaster happened, we were discussing how the reactor had failed in a science class. 5 minutes into the conversation, a girl piped up and said, "I don't see what the big deal is. Why can't we just regrow it?" She deadass thought a nuclear power plant was a plant. Duck me, that's amazing. Summer camp counselor made all the kids on a school bus keep the windows up on a hot day because they could feel the air conditioning coming from the front of the bus. It was so hot and I, maybe 10 years old at the time, had to explain to the 40-year-old counselor that the air conditioning they were feeling was the wind coming in through the bus driver's open window. She still didn't believe me. I begged her to ask the bus driver to confirm the bus did not have air conditioning, but she didn't want to bother him while he was driving. It was like a 1-hour bus trip. She finally got hot enough and asked the bus driver if the bus had air conditioning. And he jokingly said the bus only has air conditioning when the windows are down and the wheels are turning. She then looked back at me and said, "See, I told you the bus had air conditioning," and proceeded to force us to keep the windows up. How does someone that ducking dents become a teacher? If you find out, please let me know. I'd like a career change. The time a friend told me how much he hates potatoes while eating french fries, and I literally blew his mind by telling him french fries are potatoes. Wonder how your friend would feel about onion rings after learning what's inside those things. Potatoes? Not me, but a friend worked in a call center for a CC company in the disputes department. The number one item people called to say they never purchased: interest charge. To be fair, someone in my history class argued that Mussolini was a type of pasta. I knew a kid in high school who thought Tortellini was a dictator. Benito Tortellini. An old co-worker was telling me that there's people out there that think Alaska is an island. I laughed in disbelief, but another co-worker overheard and was flabbergasted. What? It's not? But it's always drawn off to the side with Hawaii. Point made. Another time a guy with a really thick accent walked in. Same girl was like, "Oh wow, I like your accent, where are you from?" Said guy. Have a guess her response? Haviguas? I've never heard of that place before. And walked away. She is super sweet, just slightly oblivious. Haviguas ain't no country I ever heard of. They speak English in Haviguas. I teach high school English. I was working with a small 9th grade group and found out all 4 of them thought Alaska was an island. They were not kidding. I grabbed the globe to show them. One asks, "But how recent is that map?" I laughed really hard but discovered, again, that it was not a joke. How much is a $50 worth? She was the newest teller my boss hired. Will never forget that moment. Me. When I was a kid, I had a real old transistor radio. Asked my parents for a newer radio so I could receive and listen to newer music. I mean, that could make sense if you were the right age for the AM/FM split. Had someone ask me, "Is Europe on Earth?" I'm European and no, we live on Mars, lol. LOL. I looked at the person, blinked twice, and walked away. My sister asked if the Eiffel Tower was in Paris or France and couldn't understand how it could be in both. Edit. Whoa. My top rated comment is me announcing one of my sister's airhead moments, haha. I feel like I need to defend her now. This happened when she was like 14. She's 26 now. She went on to graduate from college and graduated top of her class. She later clarified that she meant to ask if the Eiffel Tower was in Paris or elsewhere in France, but she clearly didn't say it like that. She's gonna kill me when I tell her how much attention this got. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.